These are the companies that I have been given / chosen for various reasons. And they've all got interesting little stories about them. First up is Instagram, which was part of the kind of the Facebook family. But if we recorded all the information that had been produced and documented in the first 2003 years of the world, that would basically be the quantity that we communicate over 10 minutes, that we create in every 10 minutes now. So it's quite baffling, just the difference, you know, that we're just churning out all this content. The other thing was actually, all these companies are still learning lots. So, you know, we met some fantastic people, some brilliant people, but they all came back saying, well, we're still learning that. We still don't really know. Actually, we're still experimenting with this, and we're still experimenting with that. You know, Silicon Valley, particularly, seems to be a place filled with money and people with a license just to kind of experiment and do things. And no one actually saying, when are you going to get paid for that? You know, when's the money? When's the advertising revenue coming in? So us as advertisers were sitting there going, yeah, but how is this actually going to, you know, what's the opportunity? What's the advertising opportunity? And for some of them, it was just like, well, we don't really know actually, but, you know, it looks quite cool. But the thing is, interestingly, particularly with Instagram, it was kind of like, you know, such a creative platform, but we were kind of like going, where are the case studies? Where's the creativity? And what Instagram talked about a lot was virtual reality and augmented reality kind of like spaces. And really, what they showed us in the same kind of presentation was this, you know, Oculus Rift experience, but talked about how the future is also engaging with other people in the same kind of space as you at the same time. So, you know, your friend could be sitting there in that virtual world as you could be. Pinterest. Pinterest got the award for the most funkiest office in town. Everyone picked something out in the office. It was really cool. It was amazing. They had these pin boards and all sorts. The actual product was really interesting. Even though they talked about it, again, in a way in which they didn't really talk about how they're really monetizing it. They had this like really kind of like interesting place where we always talk about the web and social and all the rest of it and how, you know, you've got to be entertaining or useful. And there's some recent kind of like, you know, pursuit of like happiness kind of like books and things talking about pleasure versus purpose. And I think this kind of thing still divides the web. And I think a lot of what they talked about just focused on how useful they are as a product. They're also innovating quite a lot as well. But again, innovating without monetizing, which is it's nice if you're the customer, but you know, for an advertiser, you're like, well, when are you going to turn this into something that we can actually get involved in? This is something that is due to come to UK quite quick. It's or it is already, yeah. So it's search by image. So you know, if you find something you like on Pinterest, you can basically click a little icon on it and then search for similar images that you found, which is really quite useful. And I guess that if you're sitting here and you're from Google right now, you're thinking, wait a minute, this is probably a challenge to image search on Google, which is, you know, where it gets really interesting. You know, that whole thing, which I was just talking about with Pinterest, in terms of building it and not really thinking about the kind of the value of it or how it's going to work for advertisers, was probably even more present in Snapchat. But the thing that came through is privacy is everything. And what I mean is that the good thing about that is not that behavior, but actually they were the one company that said that actually they believed that all the Twitters, the Facebooks, and all the rest of it were actually working against what the actual customer user person really wanted. The other thing is they are innovating. So again, if you go onto Snapchat right now, you can see different, you know, kind of like your story, which is called My Story, but you can also see local stories. And probably one of the most interesting thing is how local those stories can be. So around like events or locations and things like that, it's basically a curated service of people that have Snapchatted their friends' like stories. And they create these kind of like interesting kind of different perspectives for different places. The most successful companies have almost had the liberty of being able to do all these things without thinking about the cost, without thinking about how much is it worth, how am I going to turn this into money, just really think about it really purely in terms of the customer. And actually, I think that's the most purest form of being creative, really. All right, there's got to be one. So this is the one that is probably the most controversial. Because not everything that we saw was fascinating, unfortunately. You know, everyone was there, you know, we were all getting really excited and taking our pictures and all the rest of it. And then this guy turned up. And I don't know if you can see that well, but that is a slide with clip art on it. And we're in a room talking about robots, and there's clip art on a slide. And then he got really angry with this thing. He nearly broke it. It was a demo that didn't work, you know, one of those. That was my notes. None of the things that we saw were about some kind of like technological advantage, really, that, you know, you went, oh my God, these guys are geniuses. Everyone was doing lots of really cool stuff, which led you to believe that, okay, there's another company doing lots of really cool stuff. But actually it was the people that made the difference, I think. The people that kind of like told you and spoke to you in a way that you thought, I could work with these guys, and actually this is why they're doing really well, because they're ambitious and they're working for the right reasons, for the right causes. And that's it, really. Thank you.